Good afternoon. My name is Mike Moseley. I am the Director of Leadership Development and Training for the Henry Ford. And I'd like to welcome you to yet another episode of Kid Inventor Friday. We have two amazing young inventors that we're going to have the opportunity to talk with this afternoon. So thanks to all who are joining in and are going to be a part of our conversation today. I'm going to, in just a second, I'll introduce our young inventors. I just want to let everyone know that if you've got questions, go ahead and post them, and we will try to get to as many of them as we can. We have, I mean, these two brilliant young inventors are, I've had the chance to chat with them, and we're going to be enthralled by their story and by their work and the good stuff that they've done. So this is going to be exciting. As I've gotten into the story, it's great stuff. So we'll jump right into it. So I would like to introduce to you, so on the left of your screen, right? So to the left is Taylor McNeal. And then next to her is her partner, Bridgette Castronovo. That's nice with the waves. That's very well. That's great. So they are both sophomores at Harrison High School in Kennesaw, Georgia. So and with that, I'm gonna kind of turn it over to you, ladies. Why don't you introduce yourselves a little bit and maybe give a little bit of background about how you know one another and how you work together and that kind of stuff. We'll start off that way.
All right, so I'm Taylor. I'm 16 years old, and I'm a part of the Harrison High School STEM program. And Bridget and I met when we were really little on the same soccer team. We are best friends.
Yeah. So we decided to work together our freshman year of high school with this invention project because we were best friends, and we thought that together we would have lots of cool ideas that we would be able to share and hopefully make a change. And so the project that we are here to share with you today is that we produce biodegradable straws out of natural recycled waste materials, which namely corn husks, which we hoped would be an alternative to traditional plastic straws, and therefore contribute and lessen pollution and the harmful effects of non-biodegradable plastic products.
Okay, that's amazing. Right? So people don't just, it's like, well, I think I want to make the world better by coming up with, something that's less polluting. So tell us a little bit, because that's amazing. And the work that you've done as we get into it and you guys talk about your process is going to be fun. But how did this process start? What prompted you to develop something like this?
So, well, we began our high school experience as a STEM student member. You have to do a project that would over the course of the year. And we did this ecological footprint assignment in biology class, which is basically where you take a little quiz and you learn how much you contribute to harmful effects of pollution, your family specifically. Okay. So we learned that for us, it would take around 4 Earths to sustain the way that we live if everyone lived the way that we do. Oh. And so obviously that's an extremely unsustainable statistic. And so when we did more research and we found that the average US citizen's ecological footprint is nearly 7 Earths. So if you can imagine if every single person living in a way that you would need 7 Earths to sustain this lifestyle, obviously the planet cannot sustain that statistic. And so we thought that maybe there was a way that we could help contribute to change that way.
So, Taylor, how many Earths did you use up in that process?
Probably 4.
Wow. That is a stunning awareness to have. And especially as freshmen in high school, to learn that, if I continue this way, I'm going to continue to contribute to the pollution of the planet. So you built off that awareness, and then you decided to do something about it.
Yes.
That's great. Okay, so you decided to do something about it. What did you do then?
So I guess we began by observing areas in our daily lives where we felt that we overconsumed a plastic product, And we noticed that between the two of us, we like sugary drinks, and we were throwing away like lots of straws and other plastic, like small plastic products that we really didn't, there was no reason for us to be throwing those away.
Okay.
And so we decided that maybe that was an area where we could see if we could use other materials and maybe make a product that would be more environmentally friendly.
Okay. All right. So basically you had increased your awareness about the fact that there's a lot of waste. And so then you looked at your daily life. That's cool, right? I mean, to just look at it and say, well, I'm drinking this soda, and I should probably not be using this straw, for crying out loud, right? So, all right, well, so that's good. So you did that analysis based on normal behavior of folks, and then you're like, all right, this is something we can do. So Taylor, start us down the path of then, how did this experiment begin?
Okay, so we've been doing this project for 2 years. So our freshman year, basically, we were just trying to figure out how we can make a regular straw, just a fully functioning straw.
Okay.
So first, I'm just going to go over our procedure.
Sure.
So first, we shuck the corn husks, and then we boiled it in 2 gallons of water for approximately 2 hours, and sodium carbonate to lower the pH of the corn husks so it can sustain for a longer time in acidic drinks. And then we boiled our corn husks we blended, 2 cups of our corn husks and 2 cups of water for approximately 20 seconds. And then we put our newly blended fibers into a homemade molten decal, let all the water drain. And then we researched this paper making technique called kushi, where you basically get a sponge and soak up the rest of the water. And then after it was just in a sheet, we just rolled it up into its straw form, and then we got a straw. Yeah.
Okay. So that's great. There's like a million things in that description that right, that I want to. So let's go back, right? So you decided on the straw, and that's a wonderful process. So let's break it down. How did corn husks? I mean, why would you think about that? Where'd that come from?
When we were first researching materials that we could use as a base product, we went to like our local grocery store to see like what plentiful natural products would exhibit characteristics similar to those that we were looking for. And we were primarily looking for like water resistance, obviously, because if your straw isn't water resistant, you don't have a straw.
Sure. Yeah.
And then also like the ability to be molded but still maintain shape. And so as we were looking, we found like products kind of like pineapple leaves, corn husk wastes, kind of things with that similar texture that we thought would kind of resemble like a mix between paper and plastic. And then eventually we did further research, and we learned that corn husks are the most prevalent agricultural waste product in the United States. And so they can be obtained at an extremely low cost, and they're you would actually decontribute to pollution, I guess, because you're using a recycled waste material.
So you decontribute. No, I'm really, what a great concept, right? So you're taking something that would get thrown away, and then you're reusing that. So I'm stuck on the grocery store. I love the fact you guys went to the grocery store and were like, I mean, so you're in the vegetable, it's like, which of these things is going to be water resistant? And did people walk up to you and say, what are you doing?
No.
That's great. So you took these, these materials and you thought about it, and then you started to do your research, right? So, I mean, you found out that information about corn husks and decided to use that. So tell us a little bit about, right, the research piece of this, because you guys did you did some good stuff there, and that's part of the deal, right, is doing the research.
Yes. So for our research portion, in the beginning of our project, both of us obviously have to research everything related to what we wanted to do. So we both had 2 literature reviews that we made, and then we just basically bounced ideas off of each other so we can get just achieve what we have. So in our literature review, we basically just research other things that people have already done in the past to make sure that what we can do works.
And so also we did a lot, especially our sophomore year, our literature review was focused on like chemical studies and kind of food processing and how other people had used like not only corn husks, but some of the other chemicals that we used in other applications. And so we were hoping that if someone had used like kind of the basic chemistry in their product, we could kind of reapply materials and see if that would be successful.
Okay, all right. So I love the fact, and it was, that's well said, Taylor, the idea that you learn from the past, right?
Mm-hmm.
You were looking at things that people have discovered and how best you can apply that. That is, by the way, a shameless plug for what we do at the Henry Ford, right? Right? But that's it. The idea that we can build on things that we've learned and how can we apply those to this moment. That's marvelous. You guys lived that. That's terrific. So now you've got a pretty good sense. You've done your lit review about corn husks. You've got a good sense of how that works. How does that then lead you to this is the material that we should be using and it's not the only material we can use, right? So what was that process?
Well, we, as you know, like paper straws are another option, not a very popular option, but still an option to polymer straws. And
Right.
So there's like kind of a science of actually like paper making. And so we kind of looked into like paper making techniques and we watched videos of people making like at home paper. And a lot of those, because corn husks, we were able to get it into a thin sheet before we rolled it. It's actually very like chemically similar to paper. And so we were able to apply a lot of those similar techniques.
Okay. So the paper, doing the research then on paper making techniques, that's different, right? That's not, I'm not learning how to make a, so was it the paper straw? Was it the idea that paper straws are a little, that led you to, this is the kind of material we need to research?
Yes. And then also, because we were biology students at the time,
okay,
we were learning a lot about like individual like biopolymers and chemical things. So like, for example, in corn husks, like the major compound, I guess you could say, is like cellulose, which is found in all cell walls of plants.
Okay.
And so we were kind of looking at that relationship and how other things can be added to that to make it stronger. And we found that there's the second most abundant naturally occurring biopolymer is something called chitosan, which is found in like the crustacean shells of like shells of crustaceans. So like shrimp, like the peel, like the hard part of it.
Yeah.
Is actually, if you think about it, it's actually kind of similar to plastic, like when you think of the actual material.
Sure.
So we kind of had that.
It's that gross slimy stuff you got to get off the shrimp,
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
And so we did research on that, and we found in our literature review a bunch of other scientific studies where chitosan is added to cellulose, and it actually acts as a bonding agent to make the cellulose fibers their pores are less pronounced, and it kind of binds the fibers more tightly together. So that would make our straw more durable. So then we found that that was a major chemical that we wanted to see if we could incorporate into our design.
Okay. So chitosan. So how did you come across that? I mean, because that's a significant part of your process. Right. But so Taylor, how did that? Did you stumble across that? Did you guys go back to the grocery store and buy some shrimp? I mean, how'd that work?
Actually, our biology teacher, Miss Allard, was telling us about a project that a girl did when she used, it was like the, it was
she used shrimp shells
to make like plastic bags.
To make plastic bags. And so we were looking at that like chemical formula, and also like in addition, we were kind of learning about chitosan at that time in biology, and so we were thinking like, oh, this person used chitosan in their like recycled project. And we're like, okay, maybe that's a chemical we should look into. And so then we looked into it.
Awesome. All right. So your biology teacher connected you to some students from the past for her, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And also, we should probably thank you, Miss Allard, if you're out there listening. She's the head of our STEM program, and she was absolutely essential in helping guide us and to kind of encourage us to come up with their ideas and to keep trying. So Miss Allard, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
mean, and it's good that you stop for a second and that you thank her, right? I mean, but think about it. What would you have done without her? I mean, teachers are so important but the fact that she kind of, gave you stuff. Give me some other examples of how she supported your work, because it's stunning. I mean, this process you've used.
So Miss Allard is our biology teacher, and she's kind of the head of the STEM program overall. So she's in charge of kind of like trying to plan out how we would incorporate our projects throughout the year. And in her class, we would have, because it was a year-long class, we had occasionally time during the school day to work on our projects, and we could go to her for guidance and kind of run through our ideas, because she was actually a biologist, I guess, at Emory for a while.
Okay, that's great. Oh, looks like we might be a little frozen here. That's you guys look very studious and involved in this conversation. So while hopefully we're going to unfreeze here, in the meantime, for those of you who are engaged with this, this terrific story, if you have questions for Taylor or Bridget, make sure that you put them in the chat. I know that people are saying hi and kind of leaning in, but if you've got questions, let us know. Are you guys back?
Yes, we're back.
You froze for a little bit. It was awesome, and it was a great look, because Taylor, you were very intently looking at Bridget as she was describing. It was great. We should have just took that picture and sent it to you guys. It was great. So you were talking about your biology teacher. You're talking about Miss Aller and her experience as and having been at Emory and some of that kind of stuff. That's where we lost you.
So yeah, we just wanted to thank her, because it wouldn't have been possible for us to get this ball, or really even to start, without her guidance.
Yeah.
So she was essential. Thank you for that.
That's awesome. That's great. And so you've got your board behind you there, which kind of captures your process, and then it looks like the straws might be in that glass right there.
Yes, and this cup.
Yeah, there you go.
Can you see these? Yes. So we have 2 different colors.
Okay.
In the process of our sophomore year, we had 5 tests. 2 of them were focused on durability, and the other 3 were focused on the main execution of our straw. But for the colors, we just used gel food coloring during the blending process of our procedure. And we just made really pretty different color straws. So that's like a turquoise, we have a red, and we have a yellow.
Okay. So, and so did you just pick those colors because, you like those colors, or are they, do they work better with that material, or?
So like the natural color of our straw is like kind of a lightish green, kind of like the husks of corn, because that's the main base material. And so we found that we either needed to overpower that color with a bold color like red, to where it kind of just overshadowed the light green, or else you needed to pick a color kind of in the green family, like kind of a little purple or blue or turquoise, kind of somewhere over there. Because if you added like yellow or some other kind of non-associated color, you got kind of a brown, and brown's not really a great color for straws.
Yeah, right? I mean, can you imagine just, picking up a brown straw, and it's like, I don't know if I want to drink out of this. This doesn't look good. All right, so let's go back a little bit, and again, so I've got a ton of questions, but if folks, as you're listening to Taylor and Bridget, if you've got questions, so one of the, because I would like to talk about how you tested this, right? And did you do some, so I'll stick a pin in this one. I'm going to hang on to it, because I want to get a little bit more on, so because there was some process. We talked about the chitosan, the shrimp stuff, right?
Yeah.
And did I pronounce that properly? Is it chitosan?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. So obviously that's, we can buy shrimp in the grocery store. Where's the chitosan section? What do you, so, right? So there was some more research that you had to do, and you had to do some more connecting of the dots. And how did you combine that with the corn husks? Tell us a little bit about that.
We actually have our Kaizen right here, and we got it from a biotech company called Tidal Vision. And basically you have to extract Kaizen. So we don't really know how they extracted it, but we got it from them.
Awesome.
And, sorry.
Well, no, it's great that you didn't have to extract it. I mean, because that would have been a whole nother story, right? So, okay, so you were able to get it from them, and I mean, in terms of the cost of putting your product together, I mean, is that cost effective?
Yes, because Kaizen is the second most abundant biopolymer on Earth, it's actually a much more prevalent material than you would expect. Like, just because it's not like something that everyone's aware of, it's still a heavily prevalent agricultural product that you can attain very inexpensively, which was a huge motivator and why we chose it, because we wanted not only for our straw to be biodegradable and to be made of recycled materials, we also want it to be extremely low cost, because it's a high cost and people aren't likely to buy it, it's not going to really be implemented or make any kind of significant change. So we wanted to make sure that it was an accessible product.
Awesome. Okay, that's great. So, so Taylor, so now we've got our corn husks, and we've decided that the Kaizen is that we've got to find a way to bond that right to the corn husk. So what was that process? How did that go?
Okay, so that was actually one of our tests. It was our first test. So we had to research a weight percent ratio, which is a chemical ratio. And so basically we had Kaizen, acetic acid, and water, and a certain amount of it affects the straw in a certain way. So we had a 5 weight percent ratio. And so basically when you coat that onto our straw, our cellulose straw, it allows the fibers to bond more tightly together, which makes our straw more durable in the end.
Okay. All right. But it sounds like there was probably a lot of testing to determine, what do I want to say? The depth, or that's wrong. That's the wrong. But how thin or how thick it had to be, right? And so you guys did some cool testing with that. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a 1%, a 2%, and a 5%, and we had to test that over 6 different straws. 3 straws that were wet before we rolled it on a skewer to get the shape, and 3 straws after they finished drying. And the 5 weight percent worked the best coated on a wet straw.
Which we thought was because wet straws, the cellulose fibers hadn't finished setting, and so if you coated the straw with the liquid Kaizen acetic acid water solution, that it would bond more tightly together, which was something that we researched in our literature review.
So the whole bonding piece was a part of the lit review that you guys did.
Yes. Because we found one of the major studies we were looking at was you can actually, there have been studies of patients using heart grafts actually that are made out of a base material of cellulose that's strengthened with Kaizen, and so we were thinking kind of to replicate that with our products.
Okay.
But
that's great. That's awesome. Okay. So, and there was, when we were chatting before we got, before we started this, there was stories of an electron microscope that just, when we were talking yesterday, that got me crazy. Tell us a little bit about that process, because that was part of your experimentation.
Yes. So actually you can do that one because that was a test. Okay. Oh, sorry.
So we have a microscope like that at our school. So when we coated the straw with the Kaizen concentration, we can really see if the fibers bonded more tightly together or if they weren't, and we could see how the chemicals really reacted with the straw, with the cellulose and everything, basically. Okay.
So that was how the main reason we determined which weight percent ratio truly bonded the tightest, is because we had a very small microscopic image of the individual fibers bonded.
Yeah, you can clearly see it.
All right, so you could see what they were doing, on a microscopic level.
Yes.
That's crazy. This is great. And I love the fact that you experimented with a variety of different, with it wet, with it dry, and what was the best way, for all of to be bonded together. All right, so we're at the point now where you've got the kind of material, right, that you want. This this seems like this is gonna work. What did you do with it then? Where do you go with it then?
Well, yeah. So, well, freshman year when we first made the straw, we did test it in water, tea, and soda to see how long it would last.
Sure.
And it basically lasted around 45 minutes before it started to degrade. So,
was there any difference between the soda, the tea, and the water? Did they all have the same, pretty much the same impact?
So I would say the water was arguably the most strong one because it didn't have as many extra effects influencing it. But
Sure.
Because we had already experimented with trying to lower the pH when we added the
sodium carbonate.
Yeah, we that was kind of like a step we took to try and make sure that it wouldn't degrade in acidic drinks. So we were able to, that one, there was no noticeable difference. And then the hot liquids, because our final step was coating it in paraffin wax, which is like a kind of like, if you think of apples like that kind of shiny stuff on the skin is actually, they're coated in paraffin wax. So it's like a water resistant material. So that kept like the temperature from really influencing the chemistry of the straw.
Okay. And so why did you decide on paraffin wax? Where did that come from?
So my aunt was, I guess, a agricultural engineer, and I was talking to her one day about my project, and she was saying that somehow people were using like paraffin wax as kind of a packaging agent in some of her like food processing plants. And so she recommended that we could try like melted paraffin wax, and if we coated that on the straw, that it would probably add to the water resistant characteristics of the straw.
Awesome. So I'm a little stuck on it. I thought about this, when we were talking about it yesterday. So you're rolling it on a skewer, right? But how is it sealing? How are you there's got to be some kind of seam, right? Are you starting with a flat material that you're rolling? How are you sealing it up? So, because that'd be weird, right? You're drinking out of a straw and it's spraying out, that's obviously not going to work. So, so how do you make it one whole unit?
So as we were rolling the straw, you kind of roll it from the corner, so you get kind of like a spiral motion going up, and we kind of pressed like the seams together as we were going, so that when it dried, it was more of like a cohesive, like kind of plastic sheen look rather than having individual rolls, because you really can't see any individual, like if there's like kind of a twisted look to it, but it's not really like there's no liquid's gonna seep through it.
Can you pull that closer to the camera? Can you let us? Yeah, because this is fascinating. All right, so that's cool. Oh, all right. Wow, that's it's very interesting. It looks really natural though. And that kind of, it's like, this is great. So the spinning of it reminds me of old paper straws.
Right.
When I was a kid, that's what we used to do. We would unwind the paper straws just to be obnoxious. So that's great. Okay. So then you added the color to them, right? And did the color affect the consistency at all? Did it do any of that kind of stuff, or really was just a matter of whether or not you wanted to drink out of a brown straw, or or a nice pretty green one like the one that you had, or the red one?
Yeah, the color really had no effect on it. It was just basically what colored straw you want to drink out of.
Yeah. So do you guys have a favorite color? Do you?
So at the time we were doing this color adding stage in like December, so we kind of have like red and green Christmas colors. Yeah.
That's great, right? Yeah. Okay. All right. So so you did your testing. Did you do any field testing? Did you make a bunch of these and now give them to friends and family and say, hey, try out our awesome straws, or to get some consumer reaction to?
Legally, you're not allowed to like give a person a product that hasn't been tested if you're using like natural materials, even though like they are natural. You have to fill out like IRB forms and like human consent forms. So you have to, it's a much more complicated process than you might like initially expect. And so we test them like ourselves because you could like legally do stuff to yourself and you can't do someone else. So we tested them ourselves and both our freshman and sophomore year.
Yeah.
And that's how we based our results on.
That's fascinating. So how did you learn that? Because I would have just, I would have grabbed my buddies and said, hey, try out my straw. I mean, what did somebody say? Whoa, that's not that's not good.
Miss Allard told us that we weren't allowed to like give it to anyone because like if the chemical ratio is like off or something happens, they get hurt. That's like on us.
Yeah.
So she's like, don't do that.
And also like we competed in like a competition that's called like GSEP, which is kind of like the Georgia State like engineering like scientific fair.
Yeah.
And so you have to fill out a bunch of forms in order to apply for that. And some of their forms are like, do you have human participants? Do you have like, have you
vertebrate, not vertebrate, all of these things.
any kind of like extra like living organisms that you've like manipulated? You have to, they'll tell you if you can do it or not. And then you can fill out those forms if you've done it and you've got permission in. Nice.
Miss Aller to the rescue. Yeah, that's great. So what was the hardest part of this process?
I would say it was hard to balance this process because we both took really challenging course loads at school already. And so we were doing this during our school year. It was hard to find like the time and the energy to dedicate to this specific project when like there was other things we could theoretically be doing, but we knew that we needed to like space this out over time, which I would say is what we struggle with the most.
Okay, yeah, because you guys are pretty busy and you do a lot of other things.
Right.
And it sounds like this was over a 2-year period of time.
Right.
That's a really sustained effort. Did you use one another, because you guys are pals, right? You've been friends forever.
Yeah.
So having a partner, did that help? I mean, were there times, Taylor, when you had to say, Bridgette, come on, we got to get back to this. What was it? Did you guys rely on one another for that? Because that's, 2 years, man, that's a thing.
Yeah, it was because we were on the same soccer team and we had the same AP classes, so we were together literally like all the time, every single day. So we could always just talk about our project, talk about what we're going to do next, and like work during breaks and like work it out because we were never really separated. So managing our time was hard, but it was also like okay because we were still together 24/7 throughout the day.
That's true. And also like Taylor's personality is so like nice and respectful, and like you cannot upset Taylor. Like I feel like I'm definitely more of a like you need to like get this done now. What are you doing? And so we're like, no, it's great. We're all doing fantastic. Like I love life. So
that's
if
awesome.
I did have a partner to work with, I would definitely choose Taylor.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. I'm sure there was times like I am definitely a perfectionist and I'm not really like sometimes I get a little snappy. Taylor's really good at like trying to
keep everything grounded. Just like, oh, it's okay, we can do it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, the fact that you guys, that you complement one another and that, that you guys are like the Wright brothers of straw making. This is, this is awesome. This is great. So tell us about, so now you've got something, and you won the, the contest, the Georgia Tech Inventor Prize. So which leads to the idea of about patenting this, your invention. So tell us a little bit about that.
So we went to a patent attorney to make sure that our idea was original. So we got these books that Invent Help made for us to basically tell us like everything about our product. And since we won the Georgia Tech Inventure Fair, the prize was a patent. So now we're in the process of like getting one, basically.
Yeah, so they gave us kind of like free legal aid with these 2 patent attorneys, which we're extremely grateful for.
Yes.
And so those people are going to help us kind of submit our patent application to like the patent office, I guess, and then they'll like decide whether or not like they feel that this is a unique idea, and then if they accept our idea, then we can have a patent.
Yeah. So that's great. So you're in the process. That's terrific. So, and this, you've had the opportunity to get to this point, because you guys did the competition stuff. You got involved in Invention Convention, and you did this process. So how has that been important to you? How has been being involved in Invention Convention helped you to as young inventors? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I think like, competing in competitions is extremely important because you get feedback from the judges and from other competitors, but it's inspiring to go around and see all these other amazing ideas and wow, that's cool. But also it's kind of like a reward. So you do all this work throughout the course of for us 2 years, and in order for us to really feel like what we did mattered and we were making a difference, it was really validating to have like an organization such as Georgia Tech be like, yes, that was great, we loved it. So for us, that was like a major step in kind of encouraging us to keep working.
Good, that's great. So Taylor, so there's young inventors, there's young people watching, right? They're watching us have our conversation.
Yes.
So tell us, what's advice that you would give to someone's like, what? You guys were just, how do you go about that? Tell us a little bit about that.
I mean, first I would say you should have the right mentality. You can't just like quit once things get like really difficult. And also, I mean, I just had the idea, you never know where your ideas can take you. This like small idea that we had freshman year, we never knew that it would take us this far, and we would be in the process of getting a patent and going through all these things and winning stuff. We just never knew that this would come out of it.
Yeah, that's true, because like what you said about not understanding like your potential when you first start, like the two of us, like, yeah, we were like some freshman level high school students. Like we were not thinking about patents or
this is just a high school project. We just go through it. No, it's much more than that.
And I don't think I think people have this idea when you like, oh, I can't invent something because I'm not Albert Einstein. Like I don't have a whole thing, but really you just have to like identify a problem or an area that you think that you could make a change, and then like search for things in your life, and then really it's kind of about like ideating and trying to come up with solutions. They don't have to be like super complex. Like we didn't solve like cancer or something. But it's still like equally as important work.
That's okay. I need to make the T-shirt of what you guys just said. That's amazing. I mean, the idea that you need to make a difference, and that you have the capacity to make a difference, and that doing something, right? I mean, you were like, okay, wow, we can't just keep adding trash to the planet, and something's got to happen, and so we're gonna do this because we can do this, and we're gonna keep working at it, And I'm working with my best friend, and this is good stuff, and we're supported by wonderful teacher and great adults in our life who are, saying, God, keep going. And by the way, I'm not nearly as smart as you. Thank goodness you're here, because, we're going to have awesome. So how many straws have you made?
I would say like 20.
Like 20? Yeah. And it's still not at the point where you can, practice on your little brother or anything like that.
Right. I think you have to get certified by like the United States health department and all that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Lots of regulations.
That's great. So you guys have done, right? You reached out to experts, you challenged yourself, the idea of looking at a problem and saying, what could we do about this? And I love the idea, the perspective that you had about you got to keep trying. If it doesn't work, then that, and you said the word ideating, right? That's a wonderful word that it's like, well, that didn't work, I wonder what else would work, instead of going, well, that didn't work, I'm done, I quit. Right?
Yeah, that's actually our STEM program slogan is actually fail for success, which we thought was super cheesy when we first heard it, but it is actually it's very true. You're gonna come across a point where someone does not support you. They're like, this is dumb, why are you making straws? No one cares.
Even in one of our science fair competitions, we didn't even place. So we were like, oh, we're probably not that good.
Yeah, and you have to like, there are different groups of people who support different ideas.
Yeah.
Like for us, like Georgia Tech and like the whole Invention convention was a super supportive platform, and so was like kind of like GSEF, that area. But then occasionally you go to a competition and you get a judge and they're like, yeah, sorry, I don't know what you were trying to do with this. And so it's important to like separate out like criticism from positive voices, and to believe in yourself and believe that if you keep trying and keep going, that you can get somewhere eventually.
Yeah.
That's outstanding. I am inspired by the two of you. Honest to goodness, I mean, having the opportunity to meet a couple of folks like yourself who want to make a difference for good, right? And who are willing to work at it. Your energy and your enthusiasm and your intellect and your commitment are to be applauded. And you certainly make, you know, an old guy like me feel that there's certainly great hope for this world when, you know, I know that there are people like you who are willing to do the work that needs to be done. Ladies, anything that, you know, as we wrap up, anything that you would, you know, want to say to close up, things that we haven't covered that you think would be important to say?
I guess just that we're extremely grateful to the Henry Ford Foundation for kind of taking the initiative to try and inspire children and young people to make a difference in ways that they think, and not to just to try and get people to like view the world in a different way and see how they can help without necessarily having to be like an adult or have a PhD and like be doing like in-depth scientific studies. You can do things as a child or as a young person that would still have a significant impact.
Yeah, just never think that you're too dumb to do something. Basically, like when I was in elementary school and middle school, I was never in like Target or in the gifted program, so I would always think that I'm stupid. So now I'm here in high school, rocking my AP classes and doing this because I like really believed in myself and I knew I could like achieve my goals. So yeah,
that's outstanding. Okay, I got, you know, there's nothing I can say that is better than that. You know, I think it's good, you know, to the example that you guys have set for everyone who's listening today, right? To know that you can just do it. You can keep thinking, you can keep dreaming, you can keep questioning, and know that if you keep questioning, there's an answer out there to be found. And that you just keep working on it. And you do what you said, Taylor, you believe in yourself, right? You know, and you know, and it's especially when your best friend believes in you, right?
yeah.
Taylor's a great human being.
You guys are the best. You have absolutely, you have made my, this whole crazy time that we're in. This is it. This is the high point. So thank you both for the work that you've done. Thank you for sharing your story with all of us and taking the time to do that. We are inspired and by your example and by your exuberance and your enthusiasm. Best of luck with the patent application and all of that. I'm expecting to be able to drink out of one of those straws. I can't wait for that. That's going to be pretty exciting. So make sure that you know, that we know about that as it happens. Thanks for your involvement in Invention Convention Worldwide. This is the work that the Henry Ford loves to do. You know, we tell stories of great inventors every day at the Henry Ford, and now we get to tell your story. And so that's absolutely outstanding. It is what we are here for. So thank you both. Thanks to everyone who has been watching today. I think we're gonna sign off now because, you know, we've been chatting for a while. So good. All right, ladies, thanks so much. Thank you all for being with us this afternoon. You know, for this episode of Kid Inventor or you know, young adult inventor. Yeah, right. High school. That's right. And we look forward to the next time that we have to be a part of this. So, Taylor, Bridget, thank you again. I look forward to the day that I get to see you at the Henry Ford. And to everyone else, thanks for listening this afternoon. Bye-bye.